When you have a limiting belief or an attachment, you're going to be married. You're going to become, say, the perfectionist. There's no way I can charge for this unless I'm 100% perfect and know it all. No way. Or similar to the expert. Some people's imposter syndrome leads to attachments and limiting beliefs that they have called the soloist. I need to do it on my own. I can't trust other people. There's euphemisms that people say if you can't do it, and right, you got to do it yourself. Or if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. That's a pretty common attachment. The superwoman, if I were really competent, I would be able to do it well and do it easily well. Very, very common attachment. Well, I can't coach others. Look at me, I'm overweight. Or I have some body fat to lose. I can't coach others to be strong. I'm not as strong as them. They'll never listen to me. These are how imposter syndrome is holding you back. And those come from, again, limiting beliefs and attachments. And really what we're talking about is your growth or your fixed mindset. If you think I need X to do Y, then somewhere along the line, there's an attachment that's led to a limiting belief that's holding you back. I need to be certified to coach somebody else. Okay. You need something from the outside that's not already within you. And that's just not true. That's a limiting belief. Or I need to look ripped, or I need to get in shape before X, before Y. The growth mindset would be through taking daily action, I become the person it takes to do Y. And you know what? Not everyone might be down with that person. There might be people that have an attachment that say, you know what, man, you're not even certified. I'm not going to hire you. I'll tell you what, I've never had that said to me in 25 years, but there might be people that have that attachment. Rarely do people have the same attachments as you, especially people you're trying to help. No one's going to ask you about your certification. Maybe 1 out of 10 million, but you believe they will. So that I need X to do Y. We want to grow from that mindset, from that fixed mindset to the growth mindset. How do we do it? How do we put the nail in the coffin over imposter syndrome? Well, we already started. Hopefully you're taking an inventory of the self-domesticators in your life, some of the beliefs that you have, and some of the attachments that you have. And you're seeing, wow, this kind of makes sense. Those didn't even come from me. Do I want to hold on to these? So the first is to identify the feeling. Who's going to listen to me? Who's going to pay this for me? Am I even qualified to do this? I'm struggling. I eat chicken wings on the weekends, and I'm supposed to tell someone else and coach them not to eat chicken wings. So identify the feelings. Then pinpoint where that domesticated feeling was introduced. For education, it was introduced from my mom. My mom has 2 master's degrees, very much into like the societal norm, work hard in school, go to college. So I took that all the way back to my mom. So my mom was a domesticator. So we want to say, hey, who was it? Around what time of your life did you start to self-domesticate? Did you start to not need mom around to believe that? And then is this belief an attachment? Like for me, it was. I felt if you didn't have the education, then you were subpar or shouldn't even be in the industry. Oof, man. And then you want to say, how is this belief holding me back? So once you've identified your limiting belief feelings, and you've pinpointed where they came from, when you adopted them, and if they're an attachment, and if you'll know they're an attachment if you judge others for not being the same way. Or you go and try to find others to validate your point of view. Would be another form like, oh, this is an attachment. I need others to validate this, or they can't be in my inner circle. Now, overcoming this is we just reverse engineer it. So what I did is I started hanging around with a bunch of folks who had what I wanted, and I noticed that none of them had crazy master's degrees. None of them had PhDs. It was nuts. A lot of them were college dropouts, high school dropouts, some of them. So I'm like, wow, these people are changing the world. And unlike my mom's domesticated ideas, they're the complete opposite. So I sought out individuals. Then I started to get around groups where my desired behavior was the group's norm. And then we have to evict the domesticators. So this right here, find individuals. Now you guys in Macrimonian, you have a group of individuals who started out exactly where you were with less than what you have. That is key. Like a lot of the individuals that I sought out that had what I wanted, they started with way less. So I'm like, man, how did they do this? Then you get in groups where your desired behavior is the norm. And then identify and weed out beliefs that do not serve you and those who gave them to you. Now, my mom gave me the domestic, and remember, most domesticators did it out of love. So you're going to go weed out of course not. But you're going to weed out that belief. And sometimes when you're first starting this, you may need to take a hiatus from the domesticators in your life. And that's okay. You might need to take 6 months while you plug into individuals and you plug into groups. And that's totally okay. For me, my saving grace is I moved. My family lives in Michigan. I moved out of Michigan for work. So I got away from a lot of domesticated beliefs and was able to adopt new ones. Doesn't mean you don't love your family. I love my family very much, but I needed to get away. It was a blessing that I was able to get away from those beliefs. Another more practical way, this is in the certification, is the 3H rule. Go back to your heart. Why did you become a coach? What is in your heart? Forget all the doubt and the self-doubt. I'm talking about the enthusiasm that you had in your heart. It was because you wanted to help people get in great shape. You wanted to create time and financial freedom for your family. You wanted to change the world, making it healthier one step at a time. Okay, your heart's on board. We got to get your head on board. We got to get our mindset on board. Evidence of the results the system works. The area coaching model. Evidence of others using the system successfully. These are left brain things that your left brain will see them and, kind of interrupt that circuitry. Evidence of seeing others with less resources than you doing what you want to do. And then last, our hands. We've got to take the action. Plugging in, executing DMOs, asking questions. I'm going to tell you a story that could be the story of some of you. There's 2 pots, and the servant, her job is to take these 2 pots and fill them up with water every day. And one of the pots over the years becomes cracked, it's broken, and by the time that it gets from the well, by the time it gets about halfway home, its water is all gone because it's cracked, it's broken. And the other pot, it gives water to the village. And finally, one day, the broken pot says, you know what? Why? I'm burdening you. I'm broken. I'm not even doing my job. My job is to go to the well and get water and give it to the village. And I can't even do that because I'm broke. I got holes in me. Just discard me. This doesn't, why are you even letting me burden you? And then the other pot says, yeah, this person's not even pulling their weight. Well, the servant says to the cracked pot, you know what? We're going to take this journey. I want you to look down. I want you to look down. And what do you see? And the cracked pot says, wow, there's a lot of grass and there's flowers. And wow, these flowers are super beautiful. That was your purpose. Your purpose wasn't to go and feed or give water to the village. Your purpose was to water the journey as you go. So if you take the journey of becoming a coach for the reasons that we talked about here, remembering your heart, you're going to impact lives in ways that you never would have thought. Like the cracked pot, it didn't know it was making a garden. It just thought like, man, it was worthless. And my second thing that I would ask you to do especially if you're struggling with this and struggling with attachment, struggling with imposter syndrome, is to find the one. Okay, who's the one? There is a human being, or there is someone out there who believes in you strongly. Okay, I have a friend, and I take notes because I forget things. So when this friend tells me things, and I hold this friend into a very high regard, this friend is my one. And he says things like that I'm strong and courageous. He says things that if you don't give up, your work will be rewarded. He says things that do not get tired of doing good, because in the end, you're going to have a huge harvest. He says things like, you will get the desires of your heart. He says things like, be courageous, be strong. And I write these things. They're right in front of me. I'm reading them. He's the one. Find the one. If you're like, well, I don't have the one. Yeah, it took me a long time to find my one as well. But be deliberate in finding the one, the person who believes in you, the person who is lifting you up. A good step to find the one is be that way for somebody else.